No se puede extender del trianguleo,
¿En serio?
una transliteración muy bien
Sí,
hecha.
un libro de, ¿cómo se llama? Un libro para aprender de cero. Es en inglés o utilizado para enseñar alguno, pero ahora no enseño ninguno, puedes estudiar ese libro.
Muchísimas gracias.
¿Dónde vives?
Vivo cerca en TNU.
¿En?
En TNU.
Shida. NTNU de Taida? Shida.
NTU.
NTNU.
NTNU.
Shida.
¿En qué lado?
Un palabra china.
¿El lado cerca de Joaquín Bandung?
Sí.
Por favor.
Pero no hablemos en inglés para incluir todo eso. Yeah.
Never mind. The kids played with it. It's already finished. Never mind. You could.
Are you sure?
Yeah. They finished their summer camp today. Okay, let's send the link. Let's go live. Here's the thing. Let's put this here. Let me send it to some people. Okay, here we are. Paste. Forward.
No todo para mí, es para todos, no es todo para mí.
Todos para tú.
Para mí.
¿Para qué?
¿Para quién?
¿Para quién?
¿Para quién? ¿Para mí?
Ah.
¿Para quién?
Okay. Para Bezalel, that I could say.
No, me llamo Bezalel.
Oh, Bezalel, you have a Spanish name too?
No.
Okay, don't suffocate. Okay, slowly.
I'm not suffocating. I can talk. I'll tell you what.
Yes.
I never lived in Spain.
Uh-huh.
If I did, I would have gotten their name as well.
So how do people who speak Spanish turn to you? How do people you speak to them in Spanish, how do they turn to you, the people you talk to in Spanish?
I just say whatever Bezalel, Janjutsu.
It's got a lot of names. Okay, so we will begin.
No sé si hago lo correcto.
Tengo muchas gracias.
He went to the Israeli embassy in Taiwan, not with the current staff, but the previous one, and he told them his name is Sinai, and the lady said it says Sini, right? She told you that you need to put Aleph, because she said it looks like Sini, and it's the Israeli embassy, so they're supposed to know better in Hebrew. But Bezalel had to correct their Hebrew.
She was Russian.
Oh, okay. Russian. Okay, so today we're going to talk a little bit about... yes?
You forgot to tell me that at that time the whole embassy except the ambassador was Russian.
I didn't say mafia. I didn't say mafia. I said Russian, maybe. I didn't say mafia. Who told you that? No, I didn't say mafia. Okay. Yeah, you have recording of me. It's all over the place. Here, now we're recording. Okay, let me just close the door. So we're going to see and examine 3 cases in the Torah where Moses gets angry. And first of all, we see that everyone could get angry, but also we'll see what came out of that. And we'll try to learn some practical advice from people who know a little bit about the human soul and the human psyche of how not to get angry. So there's a story about a truck driver. He was concrete mixer. You know concrete mixer? How to say in Spanish concrete mixer? Probably a difficult word. Oh, cemento is like cement. Okay. So he is working as a concrete mixer, working 12 to 15 hours a day, a lot of building projects.
So
And
is the story from Tanakh?
No, a concrete mixer did not exist in Tanakh. So he's working very hard, and he feels like
have concrete, but I don't think they use mixing trucks.
Yeah, no truck, yeah.
The Romans invented concrete.
Yeah.
So it could have gotten into enough, but not the next step.
You mean there's something that the Chinese did not invent? In this part of the world, they all say the Chinese invented everything. The concrete was not invented by Chinese? No? Romans, you said?
Well, according to the legend, there is a dead man in every meter of the Great Wall.
Aha.
Buried inside.
Oh, okay. I thought it was mafia that invented how to bury people in concrete. You're saying the
No,
Chinese?
no,
Okay. Okay.
Well, Chinese invented mafia.
You know too much, Bezalel. Okay, so he's driving. What?
And then still alive.
Yeah. So he's driving his truck and he feels exhausted and he's always dreaming about the day he will retire. And one of the days was very difficult for him. He started his day at 3 o'clock in the morning and he drove straight till 8 o'clock in the evening. And he got really tired and he came home and, he's going to park. And just like to upset him, somebody is in his parking. There's another car in his parking. And he's looking very good, and he sees it's a beautiful new car that's in his parking. He thinks this guy, he thinks he could buy a car, this fancy car, Benz, Mercedes-Benz. He could take anybody's parking, that's what he thinks. So this guy was upset and tired and hungry probably and disoriented. He decided he wants to teach this guy a lesson. So he turned his truck to the other side, and he started his machine to go, and he did like this, and he covered the new Benz with concrete. That would teach the guy a lesson. What is it to grab my parking after a day of work? And he goes up to his house and it's awfully quiet. And as he comes in, somebody turns the light and says, "Surprise, surprise!" And his wife hands him keys to a new Mercedes that's parking in his parking. So it's actually his car. They bought him a car as a gift to his birthday or whatever that was. And, they gave him the keys. But of course, little did they know where mafia, where the Benz is. It's an interesting story. A lot of people get upset and often make mistakes because of getting upset. In this story, we could see it right in front of us. But in fact, sometimes it takes some time to get the result.
Well, I think the lesson is simply that you can get upset, whatever, but just wait until you take it out on others.
Yes. Wait till you don't take it out on others. But probably we'll soon see some advice on what is it when it regards to other people. Sometimes your day is just not going well, and often people find who to accuse. They could be standing in line in the bank, and then the lady behind the counter is going a little slow, maybe, and then, "Oh, what are you doing? I did a rush." She's just doing her job. It might take 3 more minutes, but people are upset of something else, and they take out their anger. Yeah.
Shlomi, your example is out of place.
I'm sorry.
In this country,
Why?
you don't stand in line. There are comfortable chairs.
Oh, you're
in
right.
Israel, you stand. In
Yeah.
America, you stand in line.
Right. Also in Israel.
Here, we just sit comfortably
Yeah.
and wait for the number.
Yeah. Well, sometimes you wait for your number a whole while. I just came back from the DMV in Taoyuan. I could tell you, waiting for numbers. Anyways,
Did you have to stand?
no, I had seats, and there were social distancing even. So one seat was taken, and the other one vacant, and one. Anyways, the weekly portion tells us about Moses, the same Moses who Torah testifies just a few weeks ago, who was the most humble person that ever lived. The same Moses who doesn't get insulted by people, who tries harder and harder, who people often challenge, people rebel against, and make up all kinds of things. And the same Moses is told to us that he was upset. He was angry of something, and because of his anger, he said something that wasn't right, and he had to be corrected. And the story is, this is one of his last missions in this world. God is telling him, "Nikom nikmat bnei Yisrael b'Midyan, ve'achar te'asef el amecha." You have to give revenge, make revenge in the people of Midian, and then you are allowed to leave this world. And what was the story? We remember 2 weeks ago, we were talking about Balak. Balak was the sorcerer who summoned Bilam, who was a prophet, and he tried to swear the Jewish people. He tries to curse them, but his cursing are actually blessings because God controls his mouth. And after he tries once, twice, and 3 times, and he can see that he cannot really curse them because everything he says comes out as a blessing, he gives a practical advice to the king of Midian, which was Balak ben Zippor, and he says to him, I can't do anything, but if you really want to hit the Jewish people, you have to seduce them. You need to try and make them sin, and you need to find beautiful women, and they would approach the Jewish people and would try to make them follow them. And indeed, this is exactly what had happened. They found beautiful women from the people of Midian, and they went to seduce the Jewish people. And not only was it a moral sin, but also embedded in it was idol worshipping, because these women were trying to say to the people who went after them that in order for us to be together, you have to bow down to this idol. The idol what? Bel Peor, correct. That was Baal Peor was the idol that they were worshipping in those days. And then, of course, we know how this story ended with Pinchas, that he stopped everything, killing Zimri. And after this chapter, we had a little bit of a break, and then God says to Moses, it's time for revenge. And it's quite interesting because we don't find many times in Torah the word revenge. And it's quite interesting how God analyzes it and puts it in such a way. What happens is he tells the people to go to Midian and find revenge. And when they come back, it was the custom in those days that when you go out for a war, you could capture whatever is left. And they captured, a lot of assets of jewelry and gold. And they also took with them, back in those days, it was a custom captivity. They used to take with them slaves and maidservants. So they brought with them, when they came back, it was a holy war. They won the Midianites, and they also killed Bilam ben Beor with a sword. And, it's elaborated in Torah. And they came back, they brought with them a group of people, and among them women. And it was the exact same women that because of them this whole story happened. They were the ones that the seductionists, those were. And Moses got really upset, and he says to them, what's going on? Why did you bring these women here? The whole reason why we had the problem is because of the women. Why did you bring them here? And here let's read it from the Torah. So Moses became angry with the officers of the army, the commanders of the thousands and the commander of the hundreds, who had returned from the campaign of war. Moses said to them, did you allow all females to live? They were the same ones who were involved with the children of Israel on Bilam's advice to betray the Lord over the incident of Peor. Like Reuben said, just to, I don't want to be too explicit, but the idol worshipping of Baal Peor was that a person would actually relieve himself in front of that island. Number 2, okay, not even number 1. Number 2 was, and that was the big thing. So you imagine something that looks like completely out of this world, and that was the idol worship, and that's what they were doing, resulting in a plague among the congregation of Israel. Rashi says, on Bilam's advice, he said to them, even if you assemble all the multitudes of the world, you will not be able to overcome them. That's what Bilam said to Balak. Are you more numerous than the Egyptians, who had 600 chosen chariots? Come and I will advise you, their God hates immorality. Thus entice them to sin with your women, as appears in the chapter of Chelek. It's brought in Sanhedrin. They were the same ones. This shows that they recognized them, these women, saying, this is the one who led so-and-so astray. So in fact, they brought the very same women who caused this whole mess. You wanted to ask something, or?
Sorry, what was the name of that idol?
Baal Peor. Peor.
You remember you sent me last year to this place? That's how they spell my name here.
Peor?
No, something like Baal Peor or Beelzebub.
Really? Beelzebub?
Yes. And I told them many times how to spell Betzalel.
Oh my goodness.
It was always something between Baal Peor and Beelzebub.
Oh my God.
All those terrible things.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, Moses gets angry. Apparently the anger is right. It's justified. He says, this whole story happened because of this woman. And what are you going? You're bringing them here? What's wrong with you? So the anger apparently is in its place. Nevertheless, because he was angry, he forgot something. And he told them something else. With regards to they brought with them a lot of vessels. They brought, as we said, the custom was when you go to fight against an enemy, you win the enemy, you get to keep everything, or looting, or whatever, it was a custom there. And they took with them many, many things. Amongst the things, they had food utensils. And Moses said, the food utensils, we must immerse them in the mikvah because they belong to non-Jews and they're impure. But what he forgot to say was that it was non-kosher. The food utensils, they cooked all their, whatever they were eating, be that, pigs or whatever they were eating, which of course renders them not kosher. In order for this to be used for Jewish people, which is way past the giving of the Torah and the laws of kosher, they had to be kosherized. So which means that if something that was used with fire, direct contact in fire, then direct contact in fire is required to kosherize it. If something that was used like a pot or a pan, which is with water, then water is required in order to make it kosher. This whole chapter was not said by Moses, but rather by Elazar, the priest, who had to intervene. Moses said, you could use everything you brought, after he gave his speech about the women that there shouldn't be here, and then he said, you could use everything you have as long as you immerse it. And then Elazar said, wait, you first need to kosherize it, and only then you could use it. Yes, you wanted to say something?
So the food is divided into kosher, which means basalim,
meaty, or
Halabi,
dairy,
parveh, and treif.
So treif is everything that's not kosher, right?
So that's why you have 4 refrigerators.
Oh, we don't need 4. That's why I have 4 refrigerators. No, because I have a lot of food. That's why I have. No, not because of. Not because it's okay to have the same refrigerator for meaty and for dairy.
It fits neatly with this number.
Okay, so here, so this one, Rashi is on Bilam. So after this story, we find that Moses again had a mistake, and he had to, and he forgot this chapter of kosherizing the dishes. Now, what's interesting is to say is that it's not the first time. It's not the first time that Moses gets upset. And it's not the first time that this leads to a mistake. But it is the first time that this is said explicitly, that it leads to a mistake. First of all, we know what the world says, love builds, anger destroys. Being angry is punishing yourself over somebody else's, there's a typo. Someone else's stupidity, right? Usually somebody else's fault, and you're being angry, you're actually punishing yourself. Sometimes it's actually my own fault, but in most cases, it's not the right case. But here's what So Elazar the Kohen said to the soldiers returning from battle, this is the statue that the Lord commanded Moses. Rashi, Elazar the Kohen says Moses came to a state of anger. He came to Ur. For the laws of puring Gentile vessels eluded him. A similar incident happened on the 8th day of the, investitures of the Kohanim. The inauguration of the temple. As it says, Moses became angry with Elazar and Itamar. He came to a state of anger, so he came to Ur. Similarly, in the episode of Now Listen, you rebels, and struck the rock through anger, he came to Ur. I'll give you just a little briefing over these 2 incidents. It was the time when they inaugurated the temple, the first time when the temple was built, the tabernacle, in the desert, and they had to start to inaugurate it. So, unfortunately, 2 of Aaron's 4 sons decided, and here there's a lot of opinions of what exactly happened there, but they decided, let's use the more positive approach. They decided they were so infatuated with their love to God that their soul departed from their body. They decided they can't stay in this world anymore. Their love and their affection to God had made them depart. Their soul departed from their body, which physically means they died. So in the time when everyone celebrates, this is after the golden calf, and after God says, okay, there is an atonement for the golden calf, which is building the Mishkan, the tabernacle, and finally they're building it, and it's all ready, and they're waiting for the divine presence to come, and they're counting the days, the first, the second, the 8th day was the new moon of Nisan, the first day of Nisan, and out of this joy, a big story, 2 of Aaron's sons are dead in the midst of this whole thing. And when they died, so of course there were different rules with regards to mourning of Aaron and his other 2 children, and God had commanded that they would not perform any mourning in public. In other words, not to mess up the big joy. Of course, what had happened is we look at it in hindsight, we say it was because of their devotion and their love to God, but the end of the story is they died. And of course, this is not an easy thing to reconcile, but God's commandment was that they would not commemorate their suffering, their sorrow, but rather proceed as planned. But they did not. There was one offering that was missing, they were supposed to offer, and Moses got really upset, and he said, we had the words of God not to stop the big event. But Aaron said, no, you're right, my brother. God said, but this was a different offering that was not obligatory, and we stopped that one, but we didn't stop the real procession, but there was one thing that was missing, and that we didn't do. And then Moses said, okay, you're right. So that's the first time he got upset that we have in writing, and Rashi brings it here. The second time is the most famous one. Everyone knows why Moses did not enter the land. It was when God said to speak to the rock, but he decided to struck the rock. It wasn't only the striking of the rock that was a problem, it was the whole thing. He was irritated. The people were always complaining and kvetching after all the miracles and wonders that took place. They didn't have water, and they said, what are we going to do? Why did you bring us here? Why did you take us out of Egypt? We should have stayed there. We had water as much as we needed in this stupid desert. Who told you to bring us? And they were going like Jews like to do, kvetching and complaining and blaming everybody else, and that made caused him to make a mistake. Instead of speaking to the rock, he struck the rock and water came out. Now between me and you, for rock to take out water, even if you struck it, that's no less of a miracle. You speak to the rock, water comes out. You go to any random rock, you start hitting it, I'm sure you won't find water, and there's definitely not going to come a stream of water. So that was definitely a miracle of Hashem, of God, but because it wasn't exactly by the instruction of God, and that came out of anger, Moses being upset of the Jewish people, who, again, the anger was apparently rightfully so. Nevertheless, because of his anger, he came to err, and he struck the rock instead of talking to it. So in summary, we find 3 instances.
But if Hashem did the miracle that after he by mistake he hit so why Hashem did that? It will go out water. Because the reason that Hashem was not doing a miracle for nothing.
In vain, you mean? Okay. So why?
So why he did a miracle?
Well, they needed water to drink, but the people didn't know. Moses said, they didn't know that Hashem said to Moses that he has to speak to the rock. Moses said, you want water? I'll give you water. He took a rock, he hit it, and water came. And of course, everybody were very happy, and they said thank you to Hashem and to Moses. For them, it was a big miracle. But in between Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu, there's a little account which Hashem said, you speak to it, but you hit the rock. So the miracle, as I said, it's a big miracle, and of course the people were pleased, but still the idea was that Moses had a mistake because of being upset. Now, what's interesting is that Rashi only tells it to us here. On the other places, it doesn't say, right? Torah says, and it's kind of smooth out. But here, Rashi says, and the Rebbe explains why it appears here. Okay, so here's anger over, this is a summary, anger over Elazar and Itamar, the 2 sons of Aaron, after they lost their 2 brothers, anger over the people with the rock, we just said, and anger over the warriors for bringing the captured women back to Israel's camp instead of leaving them there. So the Rebbe says, the reason Rashi did not bring up his interpretation of Moses being angry and therefore mistaken in those places is, on Parsha Shmini, this is with regards to the sons of Aaron, there could have been a halachic argument between Moses and Aaron, and this might not be considered error. Okay, so Moses says, what did you do? Why did you stop the celebration? And Aaron says, wait, we didn't stop, we just did something different. Oh, okay, so, there was a different opinion about what needs to be done. So it's not considered an error necessarily. On Pasha Chukat, hitting of the rock, one might say that after speaking to a different rock and not getting water to come out, Moses thought perhaps he should hit it. So that's another explanation, which Moses originally spoke to the wrong rock. think of it this way, he's speaking to the wrong rock, okay, not the right one, and water are coming out, so he says, okay, I'll hit it, and then he speaks and he hits that rock. So he says again, this is not necessarily something that came out of a mistake. He thought perhaps he should hit it. Whereas here, by forgetting the laws of purging vessels, we must say there has been anger, thus resulting in error. So in other instances, as we put them together, we see three things. But each one separately, we don't necessarily see. So only here is the only example where Moses gets angry, and his anger leads him to make a mistake. Granted, not a dreadful mistake. He forgot something, and Elazar had helped to, he was on the spot, and he told them the rules. And still, but it does pose a question, what is really the reason that when we are angry, we make mistakes? And even Moses is apparently not innocent of that. Now, here's what Pirkei Avot says. Okay, there are 4 types of temperaments. One who is easily angered and easily appeased. His virtue cancels his flaw. Okay, somebody who gets really angry very easily, but also very easily to appease. So what happens? His virtue cancels his flaw. So at the end, he comes out with some profit, with some gain. He might be angry, but it's so easy to appease him. We see that with children, right? Children get upset over nonsense, and you give them a little candy, right, Mendy? I'll give you a candy, and you'll forget his flaw cancels his virtue. It's very hard to make him angry, but when he gets angry, forget it. Then, although he has a virtue, ma'ala, that he doesn't get angry easily, but when he does get angry, it's really bad. Then the flaw is more than the virtue. One who is difficult to anger and is easily appeased is called as a chassid. Chassid is someone who does lifnim mishurat adin. He does more than necessary. One who is easily angered and is difficult to appease is wicked. Rasha. So from here we see that the Mishnah says very interesting, right? We know it from Pirkei Avot that indeed there are some cases. Anger was created by God. Anger is something that was, it's a part of our DNA. But there are some cases that, it says the Chassid, it's difficult to anger. It doesn't say it's impossible to anger. When it says it's difficult to anger, there means that there are some cases that even someone like that might be angry. Not impossible to anger. By the way, if there's someone that's impossible to anger, that means this person doesn't have any emotion. That means this person is oh, I get angry. So after you leave, right after you shut the door, ask Wendy. You will ask me.
No.
What? I get angry.
Angry?
Yeah.
I never saw you angry.
Really? You're so sweet.
Like what?
I'll give you a candy later. You're so sweet.
I'll become angry, then you'll give me a candy?
2 candies for you.
But aren't you a Hasid by definition?
Yeah, I am.
So,
I try.
I guess Hasidim who follow Hasidut try to align with this with speaking.
So when is anger needed? Okay, so apparently sometimes people don't understand what you tell them. And, because of lack of communication, different language, different culture, I encounter that all the time here in Taiwan. People speak differently, think differently, and sometimes just by words, you don't get the result. Sometimes you need to have an effective, if you want, you need something tangible, right? So sometimes it happens, you raise your voice and speak, oh, this guy is serious, okay, he's really, we really shouldn't be doing that. I remember, you probably don't remember that because you were very young. We were traveling in the train to Danshui in the Red Line, and up came to us in the train this idiot Mormon with a big cross or whatever that is, and he started waving next to my kids. You were probably very young. He brought his Avodah Zarah, he brought his thing, and I gently asked him to move on, and he wasn't really willing. So I raised my voice, and I made a big mess. I said, "Get the hell out of here!" And I really screamed at him because he wasn't, and everybody got quiet, because sometimes Taiwanese, he left, right? But I showed him anger, and that's the only effective way. Sometimes that's the only effective way. Don't take it as as it went.
Mormon, that was immoral.
Oh yeah. Well, anyways, yeah, you can see them sometimes. They go on their bicycle, and you see them. Yeah,
Well, many people think I am one because I speak Chinese.
No.
No, I used the first year here. I used to ride bicycle. That was 100% Mormon.
Oh, really?
Everybody would tell me I'm Mormon because I speak Chinese and ride a bicycle.
Okay.
That's true.
They think that Mormons go in pairs.
Oh, right. He's right. Reuben is right. They always come in pairs. You needed to get another one to get to be a Mormon. Okay, well, you're not. Thank God. So sometimes anger is necessary. Sometimes educating children. You don't need to be angry, but you need to show them like you're angry. Sometimes when you have people under you, right, and people make mistakes, and it happens. You're a manager. You have people who are you have responsibility for, and if always talking nicely and smoothly, it's nice. But sometimes you need to have a firm approach towards things. And yes, it does appear to be anger. Mistakes are happening, and you want to fix it before it's too late. And you summon some of the people that you're responsible for, and yes, you tell them, I'm not pleased, this is not right, the way that you have done this or the way that you're acting is wrong, and it affects our company and your future and so on, and you need to have a very clear message that's being brought. And when people see that you are very soft, they don't take it as serious, where if they see that you are not very soft. Rabbi Yehuda explains on this difficult to anger. He says it doesn't say impossible to anger because sometimes anger is necessary. Nevertheless, the Rambam, Maimonides, okay, first we see what Maimonides won, and then we'll see. He says like this. This is Hilchot Deot. We just started Maimonides yesterday. The first day every year we cycle the whole book of Rambam Maimonides, and he says like this: the straight path, Haderech HaYeshara. Betzalel, Haderech HaYeshara. You said we're missing Hebrew. Haderech HaYeshara, the straight path. This involves discovering the midpoint temperament of each and every trait the man possesses within his personality. This refers to the trait which is equidistant from either of the extremes, without being close to either of them. For example, he should not be wrathful, easily angered, nor be like the dead without feeling. Rather, we should adopt an intermediate course. That is, he should display anger only when the matter is serious enough to warrant it, in order to prevent the matter from recurring. Right? Somebody sees that you are angry and you have ability to influence them, they would not go down that path. So this is necessary. But what really needs to be said, okay, yes, what?
You just mentioned that the Chinese have invented everything.
Oh, I was just saying that in this part of the world, everything you say is, the Chinese made it. Oh, it's all the Chinese.
He lived like 1,000 years ago.
850, yeah.
Yes. And the idea of Chinese and the golden mean is much older.
Uh-huh.
And then there's an expression, it's called Zhongyong. So, which is like the golden mean. It's common in some other cultures. Maybe the Greeks have it too.
Are you talking Confucius now? What are you talking?
What?
Are you talking Confucius?
Yeah, I think it's related to the grandfather.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The golden mean. And that's a bit older.
Okay. Well, we have our sources, and they have their sources, and they have a big wall in Beijing. Okay, well, that's nice. Anyways, this is not the only source. Soon we'll see what the Maimonides says about anger, that actually you should go to the extreme of being not angry. But what needs to be said with this reference here is that it doesn't say that you should be angry. It says he should display anger. Meaning, you have to show like you're angry, but don't let it affect you completely. It shouldn't irritate you, but you should present yourself as being angry, because what the purpose is to relay the message to someone else. To relay the message, they don't know if you're pretending or you really are. So you shouldn't really be angry, but you should pretend like you're angry. Make believe, right? Make believe.
But sometimes I'm really angry.
Here, there are temperaments. First he said the golden path is the straight way in the middle. Yet. Continues. This is the second passage. There are temperaments with regards to which a man is forbidden to follow the middle path. He should move away from one extreme and adopt the other. anger, he says about two things. He says pride and anger. I cut it to 3 points because that's not our topic today. Kas v'gava, pride and anger. Anger is also an exceptionally bad quality. It is fitting and proper that one move away from it and adopt the opposite extreme. He should school himself not to become angry even when it is fitting to be angry. If he should wish to arouse fear in his children and household or within the community, if he's a communal leader, and wishes to be angry at them to motivate them to return to the proper path, he should present an angry front to them to punish them, but he should be inwardly calm. He should be like one who acts out the part of angry man in his wrath, but is not himself angry. So Maimonides says, being angry, no, never. Don't follow the middle path. Did the Chinese say that? There's two things. Rambam said, middle path is the right way. Two things, you go to extreme. Anger and pride. He says, our topic today is anger. He says, go to the extreme. Never get angry. Even when it's necessary, even when it's justified, you don't get angry. But you should pretend like you're angry.
I think if already the Chinese, you said maybe they would say something, so at least maybe they're angry. But how to say gava?
How to say what?
Yeah.
Pride.
Pride. So I just think they won't think about it.
They won't think about pride?
Yeah, I don't think so.
Okay, maybe. Okay. We'll have to. You ask Betzalel later. He's an expert on these things. There was the previous Rebbe told the story about Reb Nissan. Reb Nissan was an educator, a teacher, a person of great virtue, and he had a child. And like the story goes, the father is great and pious, and the child is a little naughty, right? And the child used to hurt animals, just animals in the street, hurt them, being childish. And the father warned him to stop doing that, stop doing that.
Did he get the fun of it?
He kind of enjoyed it in a way. That's bad. That's bad. That's bad. The father told him that he should stop, and of course he didn't stop. And the father told him he needs to punish him because he wants the son to feel pain like he causes these poor animals that are innocent. And he actually had to hurt him. And after he hurt him, the son left, and then he came back and he saw his father was crying, and he didn't know what's going on. And the father said, I cried because I had to hurt you. I never wanted to go that path, but I had to hurt you. And the son later said that it wasn't the spanking, but it was the tears of the father that made him change his ways. In other words, not like some people often think, I get upset, and just because I'm strong and you're weak, then I can hurt you. That's not the right way. That's not. By the way, I never hurt my kids. That I can tell you. I get angry sometimes, but I never hurt my kids. Right?
You never get angry.
I do sometimes, but I never hurt my kids. I just feel it's not fair, just because I'm stronger than them.
It's natural to get angry at some morons, but you kids are not.
Well,
Rather the opposite.
The other person's level of intellect shouldn't be an excuse. Anyway, so the son said that the tears of the father made him change his ways more than the spanking, because that showed that he really cared about him and he really wanted to educate him to the right way. Now we'll move to a little interesting side topic of this, which is what happens when a person does what he does and you feel like they're doing it over and over again and you feel like they need to be put in place. Okay, so we said you pretend like you're angry, but you need to be... Oh! A special guest all the way, 300 kilometers away from here. The Chief Rabbi of Taidong, just enter. Chief Rabbi of Taidong.
Great Rabbi of Taidong.
What?
Shalom Betzalel.
Okay.
Shalom Reuven, shalom Nachman.
Okay, so we said that you're not supposed to be angry, but you're allowed to pretend like you're angry. When you need to educate someone, you need to affect someone, so you pretend like you're angry, but never angry, okay? The Rambam says you go to the extreme. Two things that you're not everything you stay in the middle. Two things, kas v'gava, pride and anger, you go to the extreme. Never ever. Okay, so we look about who to point the anger to. Okay, so there's an interesting two opinions that are appearing in Jewish you could say, Jewish thought. One is Sefer HaChinuch, which is also the Alter Rebbe brings, and the other is Orach Chaim. And the question is like this. Something happens. Somebody does something wrong to me. And the question is, who is at fault? Are you supposed to have this faith in Hashem to say that this is not the person who hurt me? It is Hashem who is sending me message. It's just God that's telling me something. Or are you supposed to say to this person, you're out of your mind, you have to stop, you need to change your ways, you need to not do that. And of course, not always you say that with a smile. Sometimes, specifically if this is a recurring event that happens again and again, usually the smile is not there when when you speak to this person. So if we're talking about that the person is not to be blamed, but rather he is a messenger of Hashem, then we say, okay, this is not the problem here, me and the other person. This is something much bigger than both of us, right? So this is a discussion between Sefer HaChinuch. I'm sorry, I was mistaken. The Alter Rebbe goes with Orach Chaim, and Sefer HaChinuch says something interesting. We'll soon see the quote. He says about everybody has a free choice, free will. We could choose whatever is, what we're going to do. But I cannot hurt someone who doesn't deserve to be hurt. So in other words, even if I'll throw a ball, the person who's not supposed to be hit by the ball will not be hit by the ball. If somebody was hit by the ball, it's probably someone that deserved to be hurt. That's what the Sefer HaChinuch writes. Whereas, and we'll soon see it from inside. Here, it is from the roots of the commandment, Shoresh HaMitzvah, that a person know and put into his heart that everything that happens to him, good and bad, the cause of it coming to him is from God, blessed be He. Hence, when a person caused him pain or hurt him, he should know for himself that his own sins caused it. And that God, may He be blessed, ordained this for him. And he should not place his thoughts to taking vengeance from the one who pained him, since he is not the cause of his evil, but rather the sin is the cause. Like David, peace be upon him, stated in Shmuel Bet, leave him to curse, since the Lord told him so. We brought this story, several times, where King David had to exile from Yerushalayim, from Hebron actually, because of his son Avshalom, who rebelled him, and with his journeys, there was an individual who came out and started cursing at the king. Now,
What was his name?
Shivi ben Gera. Shivi ben Gera. Yeah, Shivi ben Gera.
Because because from him was Mordechai and Esther.
Oh, really? But he told his son to
His son
he told
take care
Shlomo.
of him.
Yeah.
Take care of
Yeah.
him after, before he
Yeah.
died, he told him.
Yeah.
Shlomo, I have a question.
Sure.
How can sin exist without a person, without a sinner?
Oh, why would you say it exists without a sinner?
I understand this is like blame the sin and not the sinner.
Well, the sin is mine. I'm the sinner.
Yes.
If
but
something
blame
wrong-
the sin, but who committed the sin?
My sins. If it wasn't for my sins, this person would not be able to hurt me. That's what I'm saying. The sinner, not the other person. We're not talking about the other person. But the Sefer HaChinuch says, don't look at the other person. This is a lightning came from above. What are you saying to Hashem? What did you do? Usually you see somebody hurting, you run after them. What?
What if you're innocent?
That's what the Sefer HaChinuch says. It wouldn't happen. If you were innocent, it wouldn't happen to you.
So you mean it's a revenge, God's revenge for something other than
No, not revenge. No, God. It's not God. Not looking for revenge. It's a
Why am I punished if
It's a consequence of my wrongdoing. The person who gets hurt, his wrongdoing, this is a consequence of his wrongdoing. Now, you're absolutely right. What about the person who's hurting you now?
It's a different story.
They're a sinner
I
now.
want to ask you, are we never innocent?
Well, yeah, we're never innocent. We could say that.
That's have a point. The whole book of Job is dedicated to that case.
Correct, yes, and that's why it's being highlighted. The book of Job is a big deal. Where a person who had no sins, he was perfect. He did everything right. He was glorious in his faith, and righteous and pious in his faith. And then Satan, Malach Havavet, had
He
received.
was a guinea pig.
received the permission to test him. Yes,
That was the test.
and that's why.
Okay.
Okay.
Like Abraham, like God tested Abraham.
Yeah, tested Abraham. Yeah. So, Tzemach says, if something happens to you, you're not innocent. Don't try to look for the person who threw the ball at you. Look at yourself. That probably this has happened because of my own
But
wrongdoing.
if you hurt him, then you'll get here. And
Okay, so we're talking about something else. It says, "Megalgelim zchut al yedei zakai, v'chova al yedei chayav." Who is going to be the messenger to deliver? So, if somebody says, he wants to be the messenger, then he gets his own account with Hashem. So this is what Sefer HaChinuch says. Whereas what Tanya Alter Rebbe says.
One thing we have to emphasize: if something happened to me, something not good, somebody insult me, I cannot give myself a medal and say, okay, I'm innocent, but just don't test me, yeah?
You're right.
Don't
You're absolutely
get
right.
ahead of yourself.
Yeah. Don't get ahead of yourself. Al ta'uf al atzmecha, as they say in Hebrew. Yes?
I'm uneasy with this original sin idea that like we're never innocent. How about children?
What about them?
I think they're innocent for the most part.
They're innocent.
But that's
There is previous life.
They're innocent, yes, they're innocent.
I'm not a Buddhist, sorry.
No, but you will be.
Buddhists took it from us, my friends. Yeah, we have reincarnation. You think the Buddhists invented that? Here's one thing the Chinese did not invent. Okay.
Here's one thing I don't believe.
Either ways, what I'm trying to say, Bezalel, is innocence doesn't really exist in this world because everybody makes mistakes. Don't call it sin. Call it mistakes. Okay, maybe the word sin is a little difficult because the Christian theology is, we all sinners and nobody is a saint. And right, I know what you mean. Okay, I know what you mean. So why don't you just use, instead of the word sin, use mistake. And everybody makes...
Mistake is innocent. I mean, can you innocently make a mistake?
Well, that doesn't make it any less of a mistake, right? That's a mistake. Well, mistakes happen. Somebody has to pay the toll for him. It's not going to be...
The toll is much less than somebody do it deliberately.
You see, nobody's throwing stones at you in the streets, okay? We're talking about insults, perhaps. We're talking about people who don't know how to behave to each other. I was here not too long ago, a few weeks ago. There was a little bit, somebody said something they weren't supposed to say, and you got upset, they got upset. And, again, this is not about blaming anybody, but it happens day to day. And a person can say, I'm so perfect. How could this happen to me? Because I know I'm not perfect, and I know I make mistakes. Sometimes these mistakes are with regards to my relationship with other people, and sometimes mistakes with my relationship with God, with Hashem, right? So when you say we're not innocent, you're thinking too much. Your wheels are turning too fast, Mitzvah. It's not about, Christianity here. It's about there's nobody who's completely innocent, and the more you do, the more there's a chance of making a mistake. Mishelo se lo toeh. Right?
I would like to dare and say that I think most of our bad feeling caused by this kind of insult from other people is less, even if you don't keep, it's less of a problem between us and God. It's more of a problem between us and each other. God loves us so much that even give us Yom Kippurim, and Yom Kippurim cannot erase and delete our sin to other people.
Correct. Hashem is easy to forgive, and He has endless mercies. Rachamim bli gvul. Yeah.
If you will do too much, then you will get mistakes. So what was the
אמור מעט ועשה that's good. It's במילה דחסידות, פרקי אבות says אמור מעט.
Do a lot and do mistakes a lot.
Okay, well, don't do mistakes a lot. The more you do it, the more you get better at what you do. It's like, the more you, just like you, the more you grow, the better you know things you didn't know yesterday. You know how to do them well. Let's look at what the Alter Rebbe says. A little more relaxing for you. The Alter Rebbe says, we shall proceed with the saying of our sages of blessed memory. Whoever is enraged is as if he is worshipping idols. That's our sages say. The reason is clear to those that have understanding, because at the time of his anger, faith had departed from him. For were he to believe that what had happened to him is of the Lord's doing, he would not become angry at all. And though it is a person possessed of free choice who's cursing him, or hitting him, or causing damage to his money, and therefore guilty according to the laws of man and the laws of heaven for having chosen evil, So the person can't say, I'm just a messenger of God, so what if I did something? No, if I do something wrong, I'm guilty, right? As regards to the person harmed, this was already decreed from heaven, and the omnipresent has many deputies. Arbe shluchim lamakom. The omnipresent has many deputies. If it's not through this guy, it will be through another guy. So instead of getting angry, because getting angry meaning that there's no faith. If there's faith, they say, hold it. Something is going wrong here. It's clearly a message from above. Instead of being angry, I have to divert that towards myself inside and say, okay, something is wrong with me, with my behavior. Something is wrong with the way I do things. And here is the answer for me. I know I need to change. I know I need to be better. I know there's some things I should stop doing. And I know there's some things I should do more or increase. And this is, by the way, Bezalel, it says that, what's the saying? I forgot in Hebrew. In Aramaic, Yada inish benafshei. A person knows himself. In other words, when you look at another person, you can't tell what they have in their mind, in their soul, in their neshama. You can't tell. But when a person looks at himself, he knows exactly on the spot. He knows where exactly. Yeah. Well, you say you be honest with yourself. You said there's something about in Yiddish. There's a saying, "Opnar and anar." You know that saying? He says about being honest with yourself. He says, who is a person going to deceive? To deceive God, a person cannot. To deceive other people, it's not going to last too long. Then what does a person does? He deceives himself. So what's the big deal to deceive an idiot? Right? To trick someone who's a fool. What's the big deal about tricking a fool? Because I say, right, you're right. It's not simple being honest with yourself. I agree. It's not. You don't take it for granted.
No, I'm always trying to do it.
Yeah, but I'm saying it's not simple. You don't take it for granted. So apparently,
there's a famous quote that you cannot cheat all the people all the time.
Yeah, but you could cheat some of the people all the time. You could cheat all the people some of the time. Right. Well, you look to the west, half hour to the west, the president Pooh the bear, Winnie the Pooh, who's trying to cheat all the people all the time. So, Winnie the Pooh? Xi Jinping? Winnie the Pooh? No, it's not that.
Actually, he looks like one. No.
Oh, it's banned in China. You can't have Winnie the Pooh. אתה יודע שאפשר פו אדוב, אסור בסין, פו אדוב. אסור לה את הסטיקר הזה של פו אדוב, נכון? כן, כי הוא דומה מאוד, הפרצוף שלו. אתה לא רואה שזה אסור? אסור in China. There's some sticker for kids. Yeah. Anyway, so you should tell them that you can't fool everyone all the time. Anyways, what we're trying to say is being angry towards the person who is hurting me is missing the point. Because apparently this individual was sent by God. Again, this is his free will. And if I really feel that I want to hit you, and I say, oh, you deserve it, I need to say, okay, well, if you deserve it, let somebody else do it. I don't want to be the person, I don't want to deliver the bad news, okay? Maybe you deserve it, I'll tell Hashem, ask somebody else to do it.
The question is, if somebody hurt me, okay, let's say that I wish, let's say that somebody hurt me, and I remember it's from God, but still, I think I have to correct him. You're mistaken, but with cool.
That's what we said.
Not with anger.
Pretend like, that's what we said. Tikkun olam, correct. Pretend like, tikkun olam, we said, tikkun olam.
But not tikkun olam is to make you make believe.
Sure.
Not to take it personally,
Yeah.
but to fix it, try to fix the wrong.
So, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, referring to the incident between me and Rick that you just mentioned.
I just saw it, that's all.
No. You're right. I got angry, he got angry. But, I got angry because he was lying. He did say those things about me, that I know nothing except about the languages, and then I know quite a few things about other things as well.
Correct.
So, and when he said that, he said, oh, don't say nonsense. But when he denied saying that drove me crazy.
Okay, well, I'm not accusing you. I'm just saying it's normal.
Let's stop here at this point. I wasn't there. I don't know what's happened, but I hear the first time what's happened. But I said, I don't speak about you. I speak if you take a righteous Jewish man, Hafetz Chaim, if he was in this situation, if he was in this situation, I give him the credit. If he was in this situation, after he read this, immediately after he read this, it's happened to him. We drink whatever this the name of this guy. So if really close to Hashem, first of all, he's not angry. It's from Hashem. And then you fix him and try to fix the situation. To tell him, but in a cool way, or not with anger. That's the point.
That's why we come here.
So that's what we said, Sefer HaChinuch D'Alter Rebbe. Opposing to that is Or HaChaim HaKadosh, who says that actually a person has free will, and he can hurt someone who doesn't deserve to be hurt. That's what the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says. How do we know? Joseph and the brothers. You remember when the tribes, the brothers, wanted to sell Joseph as a slave. Reuben, the hero of the day, Reuben said, let's not hurt him. Let's read the quote. But Reuben heard, and he saved him from their hands, and he said, let us not deal him a deadly blow. And Reuben said to them, do not shed blood. Cast him into the spit, which is in the desert, but do not lay a hand upon him, in order to save him from their hands, to return to his father. Reuben said, he was the firstborn, he was the most responsible, the older child. He said, okay, hold it, everybody's angry, let's go. Don't do anything, let's put him in this pit. Now, he didn't say let's put him in a Cadillac, in a Mercedes, in a beautiful van. He said, what was in the pit? Snakes and scorpions. What happens here? That Reuben, and we'll soon see what the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says like this. People make mistakes. We could hurt someone because we're upset who doesn't deserve to be hurt. Scorpions and snakes are messengers of God. They don't have free choice. They don't get upset that, I'm going to bite. No, and if they need to bite, they bite. And if they don't need, they won't bite. That's what the Or HaChaim HaKadosh says. He saved them from harm at their hands. This action was applauded by the Torah, as man is a free creature, possessing freedom of choice, and able to kill people who are not guilty or have not been convicted, as distinct from wild beasts which do not kill humans unless the latter are guilty of death in the eyes of God. The words Vayetzileu mi'adam, and he rescued from their hand, means that he saved them from the evil consequences of carrying out their freedom of choice to kill. By doing what he did, Reuben nullified their brother's statement. We shall see what happens to his dream. V'nireh ma'ayu chalomotam. So Reuben says, leave it to the scorpions and snakes. If the scorpions and snakes would kill him, that's probably a reason that he deserved to die or to be beaten. But we can make mistakes. We don't necessarily know what's the right thing. So his idea was, again, he didn't save him from death. He put him in that pit, which had snakes and scorpions, but he said, snakes and scorpions, they're completely messengers of Hashem. We, as people, we have free choice. And sometimes we could use the free choice wrongly. We can do things that aren't right. And soon we'll see a story of who did that, which went completely off.
If it was his intention, I think according all of the sages, it was a mistake.
It was a mistake what?
To say, okay, I put him in the roof, in the edge of the roof, and there is a strong wind, and if God wants him to die, the wind will throw him down. I put the baby there on the edge of the roof, and if God doesn't want, okay.
Of course, this was an extreme example. Remember, they wanted to kill him. They felt, and they feel, they had evidence that he was Moser, Din Rodef, that he was after them, and they wanted to kill him. They felt he deserved to die. He didn't deserve to leave. And his idea was, guys, you might be making a mistake. I might be making a mistake because people have free choice. And sometimes we choose something that is wrong. Let's not leave it in our hand. Again, this is not putting a baby on the roof. That's not something you should be doing every day. The better result of this case was the Lord said, let's leave it to the snakes and scorpions. Again, when you read the scripture, you don't find it. He says, Leman atzilo mi'adam nasivo rabim. He wanted just to delay it. But he knew.
But the question is, are we allowed to do what Reuben did?
No, this is very extreme. This is very extreme. But according to what the Or HaChaim explains, Reuben said, we make mistakes, animals don't make mistakes. Okay, so leave it to the animals. You're saying?
In the previous page it is said his ultimate intention was to return himself to his father.
Correct.
But he couldn't do it.
Correct.
Given the circumstances and driving him directly with his father would have left to no good.
Correct. He wouldn't be able to rescue him like this and say, okay, let's bring him back to the father. Hey. Yeah.
Please excuse my ignorance and remind me what was the sin of Yosef? Was it like excessive pride?
It was excessive pride.
Want his new clothes or something like that?
Yeah, it was excessive pride, but it was also, he was after them. He was looking for all their flaws, and he was reporting everything to their father. You see, he was very close with the brothers, and like we said, nobody's perfect, nobody's innocent.
My father would not kill them. It's not like they call it.
Okay. Nice example you have. Okay.
He was guilty of a formal Lashon
He was guilty of Rodef. He was actually after them, and they didn't know where it's going to stop. Granted, we're all looking in retrospect. We can say that they felt that he deserved to die, and that's why they pursued. Din Rodef is a person who is about to do something negative, about to do something bad, about to hurt someone.
What could he have done really that bad that deserved that?
Well, in their opinion, the actual fact of being in such a definition already renders a person to have the capital punishment.
Somebody will do something bad, very, very bad. I don't know what's.
Yeah, but they, again, this is in retrospect. They felt like his pattern, his behavior would lead him to tell about them to the king, for instance, to cooperate with the goyim against the Jews, to someone who's in that mode of rodef. It's a state of mind, a matzav, din rodef, but not necessarily someone who's already active in doing that. Yeah.
I was thinking of Teddy Collins in Bulgaria, and I was thinking just what a terrible person, and never mind some idiot got him elected as mayor of Jerusalem. But then I thought, maybe it's God's hand, that because of that jerk, we have the song Yerushalayim
Shazav. What?
That's because
Yeah.
of him.
Okay, you'll tell me that. You tell me that how.
I don't understand now what's the difference between Or Chaim HaKadosh and this and what we said before.
The Or Chaim HaKadosh says we can make mistakes.
Okay.
The Alter Rebbe says no mistake. If something happened, it was supposed to happen. It was supposed to happen with this guy, and it was supposed to happen to me.
Okay.
So
The Rebbe say it's not a mistake from the point of God, but it's a mistake from the point of the human being. So it's not different. It's not
it's of course it's different. You say, according to what the Or Chaim HaKadosh says, I can hurt someone who doesn't deserve to be hurt.
But Hashem wanted it to be.
No,
Hashem didn't want it to be.
that's what you're trying to say. That people, that human beings, don't worry, we're not. Human beings can operate against the will of Hashem. And that's what the Or Chaim HaKadosh says. We can make mistakes. Animals don't make mistakes. They need to do something, they do something. There's no ego and wars and I got upset, irritated, disoriented, I was hungry, I was tired, I didn't sleep at night. And that's why they say about the human beings that an animal, a human being is the only creature in the world that can eat even when it's not hungry. The animal, it's hungry and it eats, it's satiated, then it's okay. But us, we always go to the kitchen, we grab another cookie, another this, another that. You're not hungry, you just had a whole dinner. Pork fridges. It's not for me, the pork fridges.
What's that? What's that? What's really the pshat?
Well, it's two different schools of thoughts. It's
Something happened in the world and it's not under the control. It's not under the will of God.
I'll show you something interesting from the Talmud. Yeah.
I don't understand. If the Moses again said that if someone did something and he needed to do it?
No, the result had to come to me. He didn't need to do it, but the result had to come to me.
Okay, so I could choose if I don't want, I won't do it?
Correct.
Okay.
Of course, it's your choice.
So Hashem knows who will do it.
Correct.
So for what we need this whole thing anything wrong? No one did that.
Because we want to see, Hashem has His ways. Car accidents can happen. It doesn't have to be somebody shooting at someone. It could be somebody tripping and falling and hurting their, there's not always someone to accuse, someone to be guilty at. There's not, somebody walking and falling and they say, okay, I'm blaming the city government and I'm suing and I'm getting a Jewish lawyer and I'll make millions of dollars because I tripped and I broke my finger and, that's that's one way of making money. Maybe that's, you want to trip. You want to, I remember when I was a young, in Israel, and there's a snack called bamba. Bamba is like a peanut, it's like a snack you buy, and then junk food, of course. And a friend of mine bought a bag of bamba, like a snack, and it was empty. They've packed it in the factory, and it was air. And of course, he wrote a letter, and and he got a big box of bamba, and everybody's like, "Oh, I want to get an empty bag of." This is what we want. Forget you go to the store, you do like this. No, don't buy it. Because it turns out you get the empty bag, you get a lot more than.
Remember when we were little, we had mixed bars.
Yeah, mixed bars. These are mixed bars, yeah.
And there was a dead fly inside.
Oh.
So we were afraid it will publish the bad names of the company, bring us a big box of a few many.
To you, yeah.
Anyway, according to our Chaim, I have the right to be angry. I have the right to punch him in the face because it's not God, it's him.
Correct. Let's look at what the Talmud says about. Here's what the Rebbe explains. I'm sorry, with regards to the Orach Chaim. In regards to what the Orach Chaim brings, this could be alluded to someone going to a dangerous place. That although it is always dependent from above, but this individual could be punished even for a small sin. This is why the danger is more actual with regards to human beings, a free choice, than with animals, since normally God promised they will fear us, the animals I mean. So even a small merit is sufficient to be spared from them. If somebody goes in a place that is dangerous, okay, somebody goes into Gaza and he has this beautiful Israeli flag waving on his, you could say, he's innocent, he's sinful. You don't go to Gaza.
You don't go to Sukhum with all of the Arabs are there.
Right, so in the place of danger, and look at this following story. Mistake, okay? Read, this is from the Talmud. I brought it. Miriam the hairdresser and Miriam the kindergarten teacher. Here's what. Chagiga, I'm sorry it's a little small, but I wanted to bring the whole story. When Rav Yosef reached this verse, he cried, but there are those swept away without justice. That's from Mishlei. He said, is there a man who goes before his time and dies for no reason? The Gemara answers, yes. Like this incident of Rav Bevai Bar Abaye, who will be frequented by the company of the angel of death. Rav Bevai Bar Abaye, he was a friend of the angel of death. No, he was frequented by. I don't know why he had to associate with the angel of death. Okay, and we'll see how people died at the hands of the angel. Interesting hobby. The angel of death said to his agent. You see, even the angel of death has deputies that run the show for him. He's just sitting on his throne with the hood not showing his face, right? Like in the cartoons, right? He's not showing his face. So he's sitting there and he's telling his agent, go bring me, which means kill, bring the angel of death, kill Miriam the razor. What is razor? Braider of women's hair. You know what is a braid? Braid? So he went, but instead brought him Miriam, the razor of babies. Megadelet tinokot. The angel of death said to him, I told you to bring Miriam, the razor of women's hair. Lack of communication. You idiot! I told you not this Miriam. His angel said to him, if so, return her to life. Okay, I'm sorry, I'll bring her back. He said to him, since you already brought her, let her be counted towards the number of the deceased people. She's already here. Okay. Apparently, this woman died unintentionally. She wasn't supposed to die. And this idiot, the agent of the angel, I have to work with idiots! Right? He brought the wrong person. He killed the wrong person. Rav Bevai asked the angel, Rav Bevai, who was present at that, I don't know exactly what level this had happened, he says, what's going on? Right? He asked the angel, but as her time to die had not yet arrived, how were you able to kill her? The agent responded that he had the opportunity as she was holding a shovel in her hand, and with it she was lighting and sweeping the oven. She took the fire and set it on her foot. She was scalded, and her luck suffered, which gave me the opportunity, and I brought her. He said, היא נגעה במלקחיים, הלכת המלקחיים, והיא עשתה לעצמה קביעה.
Why?
בטעות, by mistake. She hurt herself by mistake, and since זה נקרא איתרא מזלה, הורע מזלה, her luck was ובגלל זה, and because of this, I was just there at the time, and I could take her. So, apparently, yeah. So apparently, mistakes can happen. Angel of death. And the idiot agent, sorry. Okay. You gotta be careful when you insult, right? Not this slowly. Okay, so. No, no, thank God. I have a lot of work to do here. This is what. So anyways, what we're trying to say, the bottom line is, according to what the Alter Rebbe said, a person, the Or HaChaim has to be studied. It's not simple to understand. Like you said, mistakes are happening. But according to what the Alter Rebbe said, just a second, I'll take your question, then a person who hurts someone is a messenger of above, and instead of getting upset, we have to look into ourselves and see, how am I going to grow better from this event? Not how I'm going to accuse this person, seek vengeance, teach him a lesson, make sure he doesn't do that again. Maybe this is required. If this is a relationship, if this is someone that you have a connection with, that you could help other people to be spared from, that is required. But that has to come as phase 2. Phase 1 is first understand this was a message delivered by God. The delivery man could actually be different, but he actually was the delivery man. But I'm not looking at him, I'm looking at the delivery man, I'm looking at the person who said.
Why you have to ask the Shaker, how when you're able to take him? According to the Shita of the Or HaChaim HaKadosh, somebody can then still do something without the will of God.
That's exactly what the story says.
No, but she said because she was saying something, not the right thing to say.
No, not
if
because
she wouldn't say, he couldn't take her. Yeah, that's the meaning.
Okay, but
according to this method, even if she said Baruch Hashem, he can take her.
He could take her. Itra mazale, ura mazala. It means her luck was touched.
She wouldn't say.
Yeah, it's not about what he's saying. Yeah, it's not about. He just asked how exactly this happened. But the fact that it's possible. That's the big novelty. זה החידוש של הסיפור, זה אפשרי בכלל. איך בדיוק זה קרה הפרטים? החידוש זה שזה בכלל יוצא שהוא לקח את האישה הלא נכונה, זה החידוש.
זה לא חידוש, משום שהיא אמרה משהו לא במקום.
זה לא בגלל שהיא אמרה, כתוב יתרה מזלה, הוא רע מזלה, זאת אומרת, היה לה באותו רגע שהיה לה מזל רע, ובגלל שהוא רע מזלה, לא בגלל שהיא אמרה.
היה לה מזל לא רע, יכל לקחת אותה מישהו.
אז הוא לא יכל לקחת אותה.
אז היא ככה, הכל בשליטה.
אז אני אומר שעצם זה שטעויות יכולות לקרות, זה החידוש. That's the biggest thing. Okay. Yes. Sorry.
I want to correct myself.
You see, I don't correct you. You correct yourself. That's even better. Yeah.
That's only natural. So I wouldn't say he would pick up another Shlomi. I think he would pick up another rabbi from Taiwan.
Oh my goodness me! Hello. He's planning on at least 18 more years, from what I know. Okay. So
that's an easy choice.
Okay, so here after looking, and there's more to it. It's just we talk 1 hour. It's impossible to cover such a topic. Given this dispute between the two methods, the two shitot, there's so much more to talk about.
In fact, this story, taken literally, suggests that the agent has some degree, if not exactly free will, he had an opportunity of choice, which is a thing.
Correct, and that's a novelty. You would expect that everything is predicted, and there's no way he could take someone that is not supposed to die. But the novelty of the story is, I agree, אני מסכים איתך. יש פה הרבה...
If you help me, if somebody helped me, according to this shita, not according to the shita of the Rebbe.
Yeah.
I have the right to punch him in the face and to be angry at him and everything because he made a mistake. It's not from God.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. I hear you. Yeah, it's difficult to reconcile the two. Okay, so let's get some practical advice. When we said sometimes you should never be angry, or sometimes you should pretend like you're angry in order to educate, in order to affect people, in order to make sure that things are done in a serious manner. But let's have some advice about how not to get angry. So the first advice is time. Time. Give it time. There's a story about an individual. Sefer Hasidim, you know Sefer Hasidim? Beautiful book, Sefer Hasidim. It says about a person who honored his father a great deal, and before the father passed away, he asked his son for something. He said, "You will do something for me?" He said, "Yes, father, whatever is it that you wish." He said, "Promise me you'll do," and yes, I promise. And he said, never act out of anger before a night passes. Let the night go by, right? Sometimes you get an email that's very annoying. You want to write something, you could draft it maybe. Don't click send, okay? Wait night, sleep on it one night, and then, trust me, in the morning you'll have a different way of writing. Even if you get, really somebody... Okay, so he promised his father that he would never respond out of anger unless a night passes by. After the father passed away, this person went on business, and he had, his business started growing, and he had to go to another country to work on his business, and he had to stay for several years in a row. That was before we had, flying jets around the world, like coronavirus. Nobody flies around the world. So he had to, where a journey would take several months from one place to another, and he had to stay over his business for some time. He decided to return home and to surprise his family. He didn't send them a letter that he's coming. And as he approaches the door of his house, he hears a conversation. He puts his ear and he finds his wife talking to another man. And she was talking to him also words of affection to another person. And he decides that he's going to break the door. And, but he remembered that he promised his father never to act out of anger, wait one night. He says, okay, they're not expecting me, they don't know I'm coming, so he goes to stay at a hotel, an inn or something. He says, I'm going to go in the morning. And when he, in the morning, he walks home, and he sees this person, and he recognizes his own son. His son grew so older, and his voice changed. When children grow, when, teenagers, their voice changed. You see that with singers. Sometimes kids sing, and then when they, between 12, 13, then they're 15,
The voice breaks.
it's a different voice, yeah. And he saw it's his own son. He recognized the voice from yesterday, and he realized, what an idiot I would have been, and would have come in and start screaming, and it's my own son and my wife, of course. So he realized, that the fact he promised his father not to act out of anger. So time is required. You wanted to say something?
Yes, it's very similar. I read another rabbi saying a very good point. He said, never attribute to malice what can be explained by ignorance.
Nice. Nice. So אל תחשוב שזה רשעות, זה יכול להיות טיפשות. כאילו, כמו... אל תחשוב שתמיד כולם נגדך, חשוב שהבן אדם לא יודע. כן. יכול להיות שהוא לא יודע.
Never attribute to malice.
To malice?
malice זה כמו, כן, כמו רעות.
Anger.
Okay,
Malice is evil intention.
Okay.
So what can be attributed, what can be explained by ignorance.
So there was another rabbi, the name is not clear, they have a different, who had a jacket in his house, a coat, which was called Me'ila Kas, the coat of anger. And he used to hold it in a cabinet in the attic, Ba'aliyat Gag. And every time that he wanted to get upset, he tell his children, bring me the jacket, I have to be upset. And by the time they go to the attic and they bring the jacket, they cool out. He said, okay. So he called it the jacket of anger, the jacket, Me'ila Kas, right? He says, bring me the jacket! Oh! And then until they have to get it, then he would have relaxed.
It's similar to the story, funny story, I don't remember. Like a man, two bakers, they were very, very angry. Similar story. They were very, very angry. So someone, two bakers. So one time, some man came and he says, I want 2 cookies, okay? And he said, I see you're very angry all the time, so I have something. I'll give you, how to say, Chalukah Kas. And there's many
The rope of, okay.
You need to, okay, every time you're very, very, very angry, okay, you put it, after you finish to put all of the buttons, everything, then you can be angry, do whatever you want.
So it takes time to put the button, to close the button. Nice. Okay, another advice. So first advice is time. Another advice, not to speak about the thing that makes you angry. The more you talk about it, the more you become angry. That's how the nature of things. The more you think about it, the more you discuss it, the more you tell it to other people. People turn to public media and they write on Facebook, oh, this has happened to me, and then they get comments, and then this is an everlasting, circle. And it goes attacking from here, and then somebody wants to defame them, and then somebody wants to attack them and agrees with them. This whole thing evolves into a big deal. Don't talk about it. Give it time. Don't talk about it. It's like fire. It needs something to consume. If you don't let the anger, you don't let it control, then it vanishes. It stops. Not completely, but definitely its effect. Yes?
Putting your private life onto Facebook or similar social media is just like sleeping in the street. Anybody can spit on you.
You're right. Yeah, everyone could. Putting all. Another thing is to ask for sorry, ask forgiveness. Now, many people, kids excluded, kids are very easy to say sorry, but adults, you'll know that when you'll be an adult, it's difficult to apologize. It's difficult to come and say, I made a mistake, I'm sorry. It's very, what children are easy to say. Adults, as you grow older, it becomes more complicated. And the Rebbe writes to a letter to someone here, I think I brought it, about, so we have time, we have speech, not to say, not to utter it, and to ask for forgiveness. And he writes to a letter to someone, I didn't bring the letter, I thought I had, he writes a letter to a woman. She writes to him that she gets angry all the time. And he says to her that you should know that when you hurt someone, you have to ask them for forgiveness. Now, I know how complicated it is to ask for forgiveness, specifically if this is something that's recurring, right? That's happening not the first time. And while you're upset, just think about the forgiveness you need to ask and how you have to put yourself in such an uncomfortable situation, and that will help you to stop before you make the mistake. Just remember that after the mistake, you want to reconcile and you want to get back on good terms, and you'll know, because you've done it before, you know how difficult it is. Just think about the hardship you would have in the end of the process, then that would help you to stop the process, to stop the problem before it begins.
But for me, it's easy to ask for forgiveness.
For you, it's easy to ask for forgiveness? Okay, well, that's one of the virtues you have.
It's just.
Okay.
I think if I was wrong, I was wrong.
There was a righteous rabbi. I say he was righteous because he felt like he held one little kid, and this big rabbi of the community go to the kid and ask from the kid forgiveness. For the great rabbi to come to a kid, it's sure about the inner strength. Absolutely. Anyway, so with the time that we're at, this is the Ben HaMitzarim, Ben Shivasa B'Tammuz L'Tisha B'Av. This is 3 weeks of sadness. We commemorate the destruction of the temple, the burning of Jerusalem. We had on Thursday the first fast, and coming in 2 weeks, hopefully Mashiach will come much before then, and instead of a fast we'll have a celebration, but if not, then we'll have a fast commemorating the destruction of the 2 temples. And of course this is the time. It's coming on Tisha B'Av. You want to know the exact date? Start 29th of July 9th, am I right?
I'll tell you in a second. Tisha B'Av, yes, you're right. 29 in the evening.
Start, finish 30th.
30th in the evening, correct. Yeah, after nightfall. I'll tell you the times in a minute. Anyway, so this is obviously a time where we should strengthen each other with love to each other. This is a story I'll tell you some other time because we're getting already late and I have to go help my wife. I could hear some sounds upstairs, so I'll try to. You hear the same sounds I do?
No, I know who it is.
You know who the sounds are. Okay, you're even better than me. Anyway, so this is what we need to do. Even Moses gets upset, and when Moses gets upset, even he makes mistakes. How much could they say about us simple people? We should try to never be angry, and we should try, even when it's required, to just pretend like we are, and hopefully we won't make any mistakes.